Our beloved 8% Hard AF Seltzer is now live in over 1,200 locations across the United States. We're now available in Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, North Carolina, Ohio, and Texas. Go to hardafseltzer.com today, click on the store locator, enter your city or zip, and find the nearest location closest to you. Welcome to Drinking Bros, presented by GhostBed.com. Yeah, welcome to Drinkin' Bros, kids. These Sunday night shows that we record on Fridays always gets loose. Cheers. Gerard is in the house. Candice is in the house from Canceled Weekly. Gerard versus evil. Who's the evil?
The evil are the elites, my friend. They're the elites that steal from the working class man every day, and they connive behind closed doors to make Twinkies 3 times expensive as they should be.
They sure are, dude, because America fucking sucks now.
Wait, I'm sorry. Twinkies are up?
Twinkies are up.
Oh.
Twinkies are up almost 5x from where they were.
Bob, look into that.
Yeah.
Because that's just un-American.
Crazy.
I'm trying to get fucking diabetes over here.
This
Right?
isn't a goddamn country anymore.
Yeah.
Right now, did you see the thing that was breaking right before this? With they're trying to hand out IDs to illegal immigrants. And it's a test now in 4 different cities before the election here. So the Biden administration wants to give these out. Now, what they're saying is this will help process illegals faster.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
I mean, just weird timing. Hear me out on this one. Or they might be able to use them to fucking vote.
Yeah. Or we could just hand them a live grenade with the pin pulled.
Be
Boom,
great. Yeah,
right? And just like solve a problem right quick. By the way,
That does not solve the problem because if they're dead, they're still voting Democrat. So,
fair enough.
You know,
Yeah. I guess they could hand out IDs nuts to these assholes as well.
Yeah.
That's another one.
Pull up this. It's in the
Twinkies.
New York Post today. Well, let's look for Twinkies. We know that it's up, dude. You're not buying them, so like we already know, dude.
Oh yeah, I don't eat them.
Look at the guy who just said it. Like, trust him.
Fair enough.
Believe in him.
Is he? Are you
I don't
the
know
science?
that Bob needs to.
Are
look
you
that
Dr.
up.
Fauci of fucking Twinkies?
yeah,
He's the
dude.
science.
I am the
Believe the
Dr.
science.
Fauci of absolutely all junk food. For
I like
sure.
that. I like
Only
that.
I'm actually good at my job. I do the work. Yeah, you got to do the work, guys.
You have to. You got to put in the work today. But yeah, the New York Post ran this right before we went on air. Now the test cities are going to be Houston, which, fine. You know, Texas is a red state.
No, barely.
You're throwing them in there, and you're just like, oh, we'll give you Houston, and then Atlanta's the next one. Now there's a trial that got pushed down there, and we had a lot of issues with who voted, why they voted, and all this other shit down in Atlanta. Man, that's going to be the swing city.
Well, I think they just were able to prove that those counties, Duval County and another one, they were in fact rigged, right? Didn't that just come out?
There was a couple of them that the lawsuits were overturned.
I think it was for Warnock in the runoff, where they were able to prove like definitively that there was
He's still
the
in
same
there.
the
Do
same
they need
handwriting.
IDs there, though?
He's still in there.
But it was
Can't you vote
something with
without
the mail-in ballots, and they had like the same handwriting on like thousands of
Oh
ballots.
yeah. Well, that's been going on for a while, but they're not looking into that. They won't. They refuse to look into that. What are the other 2 cities there? Atlanta was the one that got me, where I was like, motherfucker, that's exactly how Georgia's going to turn.
I see 2 potential locations, which is Houston and Atlanta.
Okay, so they said 4, but the other 2 cities are still unnamed. Again, this article literally just dropped here, and immediately Republicans are trying to fight it.
What happens with these programs, these pilot programs? Wasn't there like a reparations program in Oakland, and now that like the city's just dead? What happens with these pilot programs? Do they just do them and then there's no follow up ever? Or
Yeah, well, it's got to be passed by the state, and the state's not going to pass reparations. So, like, once they look at the actual numbers of it, they never end up doing it. Now, this one they would do because this is going to affect potentially the outcome of an election. So, like, both sides are going to fight tooth and nail for
I
this.
still don't understand what's happening here. So states are responsible for issuing IDs. They're also responsible for determining how a vote happens in their state. Federal government doesn't control that unless there's a violation of the Civil Rights Act or something like that, typically, right?
Yep.
Now, they can have federal standards for identification that you need, for example, all the updates to your ID that have been happening since 2017 that just haven't happened. Remember those?
Remember Real ID? Remember
Yeah.
how fun that was going to
Yeah,
be?
yeah. It's
still
like
8 years later hasn't
yeah,
happened.
still
Well, it just
hasn't
makes-
North
it just
Carolina
makes
said
flying.
June.
Yeah.
June of next year. You
Oh
have
yeah,
to
they've
have
been
it.
saying that for fucking 8 years.
Yeah.
Like the original cutoff was, I believe, June of 2017. That was the original cutoff.
Correct.
And it's
We haven't
here we
gotten
are,
it.
right? So I don't know what, if any, jurisdiction the federal government has in this regard to issue IDs to people that are state IDs. That's not your fucking jurisdiction. It's
That's what they want to do.
I don't understand, Bob. Can you read this article and explain it because it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, pop it up there.
Well, this kind of goes back to what Cuomo just said. He was on that podcast 2 days ago. The older Cuomo, not Fredo, Michael Corleone Cuomo.
Yeah,
there,
Chris.
the toucher with the nipple rings.
No, Chris.
No, not
Andrew.
Chris.
The governor, the dude from
Yeah,
CNN.
nipple rings, or at least studs. The governor, right? And he basically said, he's like, I made these mandates, but it was voluntary because I had no power. I had no jurisdiction. I had no power to enforce what I was saying. And it's like, you're the fucking governor. So you just said this thing and was like, let's see what the people do. Like, this is exactly what Dan's talking about. So basically now, him doing that, these people doing that, and now them saying that, if you're a person in these states, like, you should just disregard everything they say, right?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Why would you ever listen to anything they say if now they turn around and say, well, I was just testing the waters to see if the people would do it. And they did it. Well, you never had to. It was voluntary. You know, don't come for me. It's like, okay, got it. All right.
Yeah, so what they want to roll out is a secure docket card program this summer.
It's replacing paper.
Yes. So it would replace paper, but it looks like a real ID here, as you can see on screen.
So it would be the one. I mean, it's printed. That's a passport background.
No
you
shit.
Can see. And it's ICE. So this is just for illegal immigrants.
Yes.
It is for
Illegal.
where's the
It is to
program?
process illegal immigrants and say this summer would see roughly 10,000 ID cards distributed to migrants.
Are we getting robbed right now? What's going on?
We
over
are,
here?
yeah. Welcome to the show, dude.
It's
How
like
are you?
the calmest robbery I've ever seen.
That's one of our reps from Favorite Prince.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that piece of shit.
Hardy
Did you
F-
see
Is he
that?
going to party this weekend with Hardy F on a boat? That's my guess. Is that
So
what it is?
What are you supposed to call people that are here illegally? Because there was this kid that just got suspended, and I think he's suing the high school because he used the word illegal immigrant.
Criminals.
Yeah, criminals.
Yeah, the
So like,
trespassers.
think of it this way: you own a home, right?
Yeah.
And you live in it.
Yeah.
Your family does as well.
Yeah.
Right. So
And let's just say
if-
somebody
if-
wants to come over and
Yeah,
have
if-
a hammer party with you.
If Gerard, in the same way that Ann Hesh did one time, R.I.P. obviously, right?
Yeah.
Walked in through your front door and sat down. He says, "You know what? I live here on your couch now. Sorry that's an inconvenience to you, but also I have a few demands."
Yeah.
That's essentially what's happening in America right
Give me
now.
50 grand or I'll start stealing.
They're criminal shitbags.
But
Fuck
how
these
do you get in
people.
trouble for saying that they're illegal?
Well, that's a school. They can do whatever the fuck
Yeah,
they
no,
want.
but it,
Anybody can sue for anything.
Yeah.
I mean, even before this show, I was on a goddamn call with a lawyer.
do you guys follow Mike Benz at all?
No.
Mike Benz, he's
No.
fantastic. He's really great. And you want to talk about like weaponized autism. This guy more than anybody has drilled down to like, who are the NGOs? Who's behind the NGOs? Where's the money come from? And it all kind of circles the drain. And at the end of it, it's this weird thing where the UN wants this global government and they're going to use NATO as the muscle to do it. And that's where a lot of this stuff is coming. This is all foreign money, but it's foreign money with our elites behind it with a wink and a nod, our CIA, our three-letter agencies that are helping these guys. So they're coordinating it off nation. And then they're knowing, they know where our weak spots are because they're the ones that are supposed to be protecting us.
Well, it's certainly what it feels like. Everything we have is getting bought out by other countries.
Yeah, I don't
all
know.
of our sports, all of our shits.
I'm not sure how NATO is going to be a factor, to be honest, because NATO is 90% the United States military.
Well, yeah, what the thing is that he thinks that it's, the call is coming from in the house type of a deal.
Okay,
Which
well, we can do
might
that
be.
too, bud.
Look up Mike Betts. He can explain it way better than I can explain. He's very brilliant.
No, sure. I'm certain.
Yeah.
Certainly, there's probably something to what he's saying. What my position is like, let's fucking do this. You know what I mean? I've been bored for 14 years.
Yeah. May I offer a solution before we get to the fun part?
God,
Citizen debt strike.
what's that?
Everybody get together. Look at what Katrina. Look at what 2 cities in America.
Is that a girl that gave you that jacket?
Yes. This was her underwear. And
That's a very Katrina jacket.
I had sex with a girl.
With a girl.
So you look at what happened with New Orleans and you look at Houston. One hurricane. Nobody paid their mortgage, and then they wouldn't pay out on life insurance, right? They wouldn't pay out on homeowners insurance. They wouldn't pay out on life insurance. 2 cities became insolvent for 90 days, and it crashed the global economy. Crashed it. These people, modern monetary theory, they're so fucking greedy. Their Achilles heel is they are so greedy. They are spending money from 10 years out, 20 years out. If we just stopped paying back, and people say, stop paying your taxes. No, you can go to jail for not paying your taxes. It's impossible not to pay taxes. Every time you swipe your card, there's sales tax. Every time you pay something, there's a tax. There's a tax to get it in the country. There's a tax. You can't avoid paying taxes. But what you can do, there's no debtor prison in America. You can just stop paying. Everybody, 10 million people get together and say, I'm not going to work and earning, and I'm not paying anymore. I'm not paying back any of my debts. And within 90 days, watch what happens. This is what the elites do. They declare bankruptcy. And it's just it's a credit. It's a credit activity. They just say.
So what happens when they shut off your power, water, everything else?
That's a great question. I think you prepare and you have generators and you have gas and you have, if it were me and you guys are the leaders, I'm not the leader here. I'm just the fucking guy wearing the jacket. You have people take out as much fucking debt as possible. You take all that debt, you put it into a fucking digital currency, use that digital currency to buy the shit from each other, and you leave the elites the fuck out of it.
The problem
Turn the
is,
spigot off.
We've had this conversation a million times on the show. The problem is this. You'll never get anybody on board because nobody wants to be inconvenienced.
We were this close with Occupy Wall Street. We were this close.
No.
We were this close, and they
No.
just
Yeah.
didn't have a North Star.
They pulled in one weekend $64 billion out of Bank of America and crashed Bank of America's game plan for about 2 years.
Yeah.
What was their mistake?
The mistake was there was
They
no
didn't have a North Star.
centralized authority.
Yeah.
Right.
Like ships have captains.
Yep.
Right. And decentralization is good until it's time to get shit done, frankly.
And I think that's what our biggest issue is. And that's what all these countries, all these fucking shithole countries we talk about with Israel and fucking Hamas and Middle East and everything else, they don't have good leadership. Like, even Iraq, you go over there, you fuck it all up. Great, you're going to be a democracy now. Now it's up to you guys. They couldn't figure it the fuck out. It's a shithole.
I mean, that's kind of what we did in Iraq was kind of like, let me think of a good metaphor here. It'd be like if there were two brothers and one of them had Down syndrome, right? And you need them to drive to the airport to pick you up, and you kill the you kill the non-retarded brother.
Yeah, and he's got to drive to
And
the
now
airport.
you've got a retard on the way to pick you up. Because all the people that took over in the political scene in Iraq were disaffected. They were people that fled in the late 80s, early 90s. They had no idea what the politics of Iraq were. And nobody there liked them either because they fucking left like cowards. And that's why that place will never... I mean, we should have turned that place into a fucking parking lot. I don't know what Glass is going for these days, but we definitely could have turned a profit.
All of the Middle East, you could have done all of that with years and years and years ago. But this is the problem. It all sounds great to talk about. There is no organization at the end of it, and we can't even get behind one goddamn thing in our own states or locally, let alone 330 fucking million people.
No, we need an alien invasion, right? We need one badly. So if you're out there, aliens...
Well, they'll nip it in the bud, right? They nip it in the bud. I mean, you look at the FBI files, what they tried to do with, Martin Luther King Jr., they tried to get him to kill himself, and...
Well, they eventually killed him in the end.
Yeah, because they were like, if you read the files, it's nuts. They were gaslighting this guy into trying to kill himself. Like, they planted, microphones in his rooms, and they had, voices and shit like that speaking. He thought it was ghosts, and, it was them. They tried to make him feel like he was crazy.
But it's the same with you. So let's say you led this revolution, right? It was the Gerard Revolution, and we were all wearing fucking leopard. And that's our team colors right here. And it was like, all right, we're on Team
You gotta
Gerard.
get the brothers
we're wearing
on
this
board. We
fucking
know that.
jackets, and then we're all behind you. They would take you out.
Yeah.
You wouldn't last.
Yeah, and I'd be the easiest guy to take out, too. There would just be an FBI guy like, hey, buddy, you want a cookie? It's totally not poison. And I'd be like, okay, FBI guy.
Yeah.
Only this once.
But that's it. And I think that's the biggest problem with all of this shit is there is no organization. You're kind of making it through your day-to-day life. Candice, you got kids.
Yes.
Anything that would inconvenience you and your children or from taking them to school throughout the other day, if somebody's just like, hey, just give us $18 for this, okay? You're going to get your kids to school today. You'd be like, all right, fuck.
Yeah, and even with the generators, too. I mean, we have a pretty big one, and it's 3 days. Truly, it's 3 days. So
Right.
what are you going to do? You have to be totally off-grid, and most people don't have the capacity to do that.
No.
No.
What you're describing, though, is a panopticon dystopia, man. They've made the prison too comfortable.
Yeah,
So
on
the
purpose.
prison is so comfortable.
On purpose, yeah.
That you just, it's just not worth it to leave it, but it's still a prison.
It's right now, yeah. I mean, look, if you look at like debt and everything we're paying for, inflation, all this other shit, the new numbers came out for illegal immigration today, Dan, which were fucking mind-altering.
So
We're all just letting it happen.
Well, yeah, of course, right? So it's not like left or right. Everyone is saying at the top that this is okay. So do you think it's like a militant operation? That's why they're having it, or a population collapse? So they're trying to do that because no one's having babies anymore?
I lean towards what Gerard is saying with the elites, because it's Republican and Democrat.
Right.
They're all voting for this fucking bullshit here. And it's a select number of them, and you can pull up the votes and the totals for, let's say, the funding for Ukraine or Israel or Taiwan and all that other shit. And you're like, man, none of this benefits our country whatsoever in this. It's not only time for a new government, I think, but it's also a time for something else that stands next to the Constitution. That's like, it's just called America First.
It's
and then just check the boxes of like, where's our money going?
It's
what's happening
like
in our borders? Where's our jobs going? All this other shit. And if it's not America First, if we get out of debt, what are we, 33 trillion in debt?
34.
Yeah.
Great.
So one trillion every 90 days now?
So if we make it out of that, let's say we're $1 trillion up on the books finally, we want to send some money and everybody agrees that we're going to send it to help some tiny shit country like Ukraine, great. Yeah. But otherwise...
that's one option. The other option is to start colonializing again. Like become imperial again. I'm not kidding.
No, look, like, yeah. So
the world worked better when we had two superpowers that were hegemonic, right? So Russia controlling communist areas and the United States controlling. And you could take that even further back to the Monroe Doctrine, where the United States had a non-interventionist policy with regard to Europe and Asia. But we did intervene in North, Central, and South America all the time. We were the American hegemon, essentially, right? Mm-hmm. Now, think about the downstream effects of that. We have big problems geopolitically in the Central Africa area, where Russia and China have taken over the cobalt and lithium mines. We are completely boxed out of that right now. As a matter of fact, there's 1,000 U.S. troops stuck on a base in Sudan right now that have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
They're just sitting there with their thumb up their butt. Matt Gaetz has been talking about it lately.
Niger, yeah.
Where?
Niger, yeah.
Where's that?
Niger.
I couldn't hear it. Could you pronounce it one more time and potentially spell it?
Niger, I think is how you say it.
Yeah, okay. Just making sure.
At any rate,
I just found out it was Niger weeks ago.
If you
it's not. That's why.
If you course correct back to, let's say, 1895, right, and our policy back then, what we would be doing instead is setting up MOUs, memorandums of understanding with Chile and Peru and Argentina and so on to mine their cobalt and their lithium, and it would have so many additional downstream effects, such as building economies and jobs there, so these motherfuckers will stop coming to our country with their hands out.
Candice was just talking to me about the invisible hand the other day.
Yeah. I mean, there are reasonable solutions to this that are much easier than the dumb shit we're doing right now. So I don't, like Hanlon's razor says, don't apply malice when incompetence will suffice. And I do agree with that most of the time. This seems like it's more targeted than simple incompetence, frankly. So, but these are solvable issues, right? Maybe it takes 15 years.
Well, everything's
to do it.
solvable. You just beat me to it. Everything's solvable. It's just over time.
I don't know that everything is. I don't think the Muslim problem is solvable. And the problem with Muslims is that they are incompatible with Western civilization, at least in the way that most Muslims globally practice Islam. That is completely incompatible with what we do
because
as
of the
Westerners.
repressive nature.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Like there's no Christian country or Jewish country on earth. I guess there's only one of those, but there's no Christian country, Christian dominant country that penalizes people for not being Christian. Mm-hmm. It doesn't exist anymore, right? It certainly has historically, but that's not been a thing in a very long time. That is the standard in the Islamic world. And until they our options are to cut them off completely or fight crusades. And we know that the latter doesn't work. We know for a fact that doesn't work. We've seen it over the last 25 years. We saw it 1,000 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. The only real option is to stop talking to them entirely. Like when you grow up and you can act like a fucking human being, like an adult human being, then we can have a conversation again. Until then, stay in your fucking shithole country.
So do you think people that are really liberal, that are pro-immigration, and they're letting all of these Muslims in, and they're like they're not affecting the crime rate, which is not true, because you can look at it, they're just not talking about it. Is it that they're naive, or is there some kind of agenda, or why?
No, the politics is their religion, right? It's fundamentalist dogma at this point. So.
But if you live in a place, then you're directly in jeopardy of these people
then they
and
will
violence.
Move.
And
But I came from California. Like they'll just move.
Yeah.
So once it comes to their own backyard, then they will just move and pretend the problem doesn't exist. It's all fun to say. Even with fucking George Clooney. It's a perfect example. I was living on Lake Como for 20 years. Oh, man, my buddies, we drink wine, we fucking hang out, party. It gets overrun by immigrants, and he's fucking gone.
Peace.
His wife is one of the biggest international lawyers in the world who reps. Her job is to get people in and out of these fucking countries. And even she was like, we got to sell this fucking place because there's too many grimy fucks outside who are jacking off in loaves of bread.
I call it over there liberals, right? You see them in New York. They're in the Hamptons. The best thing they ever did, DeSantis sent the people out to Nantucket and out to Cape Cod, and all the liberals that normally are used to having Obama as a neighbor was like, what are these migrants doing here? This will not stand.
Yeah.
The barefoot Contessa can't see this. Like it's fine as long as it's over there. As long as somebody else has to deal with it, how dare you have no bail? Like, how dare you have bail?
I mean,
it's okay. All right, then you go live in the Bronx.
I don't know. I don't think it's naivety. It's stupidity, certainly, but not naive. Like you can see, anytime you can see the immediate impact of your decisions, you can't explain that with naivety, right?
Yeah, and you can either change your way of thinking or not, or you could be the change you want to see and invite them in.
Yeah.
Hey, come on in the house, man. We'll shower up and we'll help you get jobs.
We went from the standard being assimilation into Western American culture to you bring your bullshit over here, right? Think about that at any other facet. If you were...
what can your country do for you? What can you do for your country?
Well, if you were getting treated medically, let's say you have melanoma on your arm right there, what they wouldn't do is introduce more cancer. Because that's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Right?
All right, let me play devil's advocate. Like, because the more repressed you are and the more repressive situation you are, we see it, whether it's Amish or whatever. When the younger generations are then shown less repressive cultures through just integration into whatever you want to call it, classic liberalism or whatever. And I do agree with you. One of my problems with the Libertarian Party, where I find myself like falling out of the Libertarian Party, is this idea of the non-aggression principle as pacifism. It's like, no, dude, like they're being aggressive. You don't have to wait till you get hit. They're being aggressive. Like, this is aggressive shit. You stop it. The best defense is a strong offense. Like, tell them, knock this shit off.
It's an interesting question, right? Like, if somebody is across the lake or pond from you, or river rather, if somebody's standing on the other side of a river and they're shouting at you like, hey, I'm coming over there, I'm going to kill you. What exactly... Like,
take them at their word, right?
Where's the red line, I guess, right?
I think that's aggression.
Sure, it
right?
certainly is, but that's aggression from, in the same way that the United States operates, from the top 1% of the top 1% of the population. So what we do is we marshal resources, send 150,000 people in there and fuck shit up.
Yeah.
But that's the way war has always gone. So this stuff with all the, like, I criticize Israel plenty. I think bombing campaigns are fucking bitch moves, frankly. Like, I've been in plenty of gunfights. At no point did I say, hey, you know what, level this neighborhood because we don't need to fucking do this shit. That's fucking coward bullshit, frankly. But when somebody fucking attacks your homeland, you got the right to do whatever the fuck you want. That's been the standard throughout all human history, right?
Yeah.
Let's not rewrite the rules now all of a sudden.
Yeah, fuck around and find out.
Because we don't like Jews, right? But if you think about it from the libertarian perspective, it's like, all right, cool, I'm going to prioritize not killing innocent people.
Yeah.
That's where they're coming from, right?
Let me circle back for a second, and I get that. And you asked, and this is exactly what I think this moment is, because you asked before, how can we bring people together? After Occupy Wall Street, they 100%, when I say they, the deep state, the blob, whatever you want to call it, they absolutely have engaged in a 10 to 15 year psyop to try to get us to hate each other. Right, I'm sure you guys have covered the amount of times Google and news talked about white supremacy, talked about race wars, talked about gender wars.
Still going on, yeah.
But it never happened before Occupy Wall Street. Look at it. It never happened. Occupy Wall Street happens, and it's all we talk about for a decade. They turned us on each other instead of them. Now we've kind of had it out. Look at what happened with the roast of Tom Brady. That was the end of woke. It's over. Black people are together. White people are together. We're all looking at these crazy white liberal bitches with their masks on like, shut the fuck up. It's finally over. So now we've had it out. They're not going to tear us apart. And all of us, no matter what your politics are, you can be the most progressive person on earth. You go to the grocery store and you've got 4 kids and you say, this is $250 fucking dollars. This is nuts. I don't give a shit what my politics are. I can afford this shit.
Yeah, 70% of Americans, despite what Biden said the other day, 70 on with Aaron Burnett.
Yeah,
that
was nuts.
70+% of Americans are like, yeah, the country's not doing well.
Yeah, because they live in it.
Yeah.
But you only lied to us for so long.
But you'll find out in November, and that's the thing is like these polls, if you believe them, which I don't. They shouldn't even be this close. If you're struggling on a daily basis as an American, the same way all of us are. I mean, I fucking look at the goddamn bills every single day. They just keep going up and up and up.
It's nuts, man.
Everything. I got a fucking oil change that was $70. And I was like, what goddamn world is this? Oh, man, we're going to give you a discount. What was the discount? Like, what was it before? Oh, inflation. I'm tired of fucking hearing about it. Like, even they inflate the shit out of Hard AF Seltzer. We know what the fucking costs are, and they're doing it in the grocery store. Unless you vote for something different this November, then you're fine to let it all collapse.
You have a senile old man, a narcissist, and a guy that has worms in his brain.
I'll take the fucking
Who is who?
By the way,
I'll take the fucking narcissist.
According to polling, which obviously grain of salt, blah, 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 blah. A generic Republican, it crushes Joe Biden.
What do you mean by generic?
Who is it?
No, that's like any Republican versus Joe Biden would crush him, but when you introduce the name Trump into it, it's different. Usually
it goes down or up?
Yeah, down. So usually when you see that poll, it doesn't play out the way you think it does.
Nikki Haley isn't likable.
No.
Ron DeSantis isn't a public figure who's ready to speak to people.
There's no person in that field that's less likable than Donald Trump to a huge swath of people.
Yeah,
That's what they tell you, though,
That's what
bro.
they
Like,
tell
no,
you.
dude. If you believe that, you believe Joe Biden got 81 million votes. It's rigged.
Wait,
Now,
so-
can we just say it? It's rigged.
So-
the some bitch didn't even campaign last time. He got 81 million votes. They're gonna rig it again. What if we changed?
I think the most delusional thing you can think is that there aren't people that don't like Donald Trump.
No, dude,
No,
they're-
not at all.
No, there's a bunch.
There's
yeah.
a bunch of people that
but
don't like Donald Trump.
Don't like that voted for him, and now we're not going to vote for him.
It's delusional to think that Donald Trump isn't a deeply unpopular person.
Yeah, all right. Here, hold on.
He is also deeply popular.
You're in
deeply
Austin,
unpopular.
Texas, bro. I travel the country. With all due respect, all right.
I'm not in Austin, Texas.
We're in Austin, Texas. So wherever you are,
I
right?
don't live in Austin.
Go ahead. Where do you live?
I live in the country. I live fucking 40 minutes that way.
And you find a lot of people that have deep hatred of Donald Trump there? Or are you just taking what you've been told by the people who are paid to tell you that there's deep hatred of Donald Trump?
I also live outside of my home and a TV. You can see there are millions and millions of people who do not like Donald Trump. He is a deeply unpopular
There's 330
candidate.
million people on the United States. Do you think more people dislike Donald Trump today than they did 4 years ago?
I have no idea.
Yeah, because they don't.
But
I do.
tens
They
and
don't.
Millions of
so
people
here's the thing, right?
hate him.
But even on a history show which you guys host, who got the most votes of any sitting president in the history of our country?
Nixon.
Nope. Trump. Donald John
dude.
Trump.
And this idea that people hate Trump,
the
were
most
those
votes,
people
but not
going
the
to
most
vote for
share.
a Republican anyway? Were those people going to vote for Senator Mike Johnson? No, they weren't. So enough. It's a psyop. No way. So the other thing is, and
That's the
these
more
circles
likely
are crazy. These circles are crazy, man. I go to the country club with Peter, man, and we're trying to like sell this movie, and there's this dude telling us like, you people are always complaining about something. The social media's got you kids complaining. The economy's better than ever. Stocks are up. Every time I go out to eat here in Boca, there's an hour wait. And I'm like, dude, how long have you been rich? When was the last time you went grocery shopping? He looked at me with blank eyes. I was like, you don't understand the world anymore, bro. You've been rich for too long.
If you're rich, you don't care. That's the thing.
Even the way we're talking about this issue is the wrong way to talk about it. It's not about a choice between three old men who have their issues. It's a choice between individual liberty and being ruled by some cunt, right? That's the real question. So any action politically that you're taking personally, including voting, that isn't in the direct pursuit of limiting the government's power is a failure on your part as an individual. And I mean that for everybody out there. Anything you do, if you're supporting a candidate who doesn't support shrinking the size of the federal government and its power, then you're fucked.
Has that ever happened?
No.
Yeah.
So, like,
has it ever happened in the history of the country?
There's a couple of people in U.S. politics right now. We'll see if Justin Amash wins in Michigan, but Justin Amash previously,
Massey.
Thomas Massey, Mike Lee. There's a couple, right? But this is the thing that probably should happen. We've been focusing on president, and that's a big problem for the Libertarian Party, in my opinion. That's the thing that goads me most about the way they behave themselves. They want national recognition. Like, no, you start at the bottom and work your way up, just like every other structure in the history of fucking the universe, right?
It's not sexy, but you're 1,000% right. What you just said is the most important thing, because the federal level, yeah, they can rig it on the federal level. There's international money. There's really, to your point, what we can do as an individual on the federal level is very, very, very minimal. But what you could do, and you as somebody that's doing this in your hometown knows this, on a local level, if you elect like-minded people, I believe in a tactical retreat. I've talked about this. Everybody who is listening to this from New Jersey, New York, do what I did, move to Florida, be around people who agree with you, be around people who understand the type of life that you want to live, tactical retreat, and then dominate the local elections. And then really whatever happens at the federal level doesn't matter, because the locally it won't be enforced. The taxes will be what you want them to be. And you have an issue with the migrants in New York, as you should. We got none of them in Florida.
Yeah.
So,
Zero.
Dan,
Well,
it's
that-
actually happened once.
When?
Calvin Coolidge.
Okay.
Calvin Coolidge,
Explain.
he left government, or he left office with a smaller federal government.
He hollowed it
when
out.
He arrived.
Nice.
He was
Yeah.
great.
Well, there we go. American hero right there.
He is, and that's why he's the institutions
Yeah.
think of him as one of the worst presidents ever.
What you're describing is the first step, right? The first step is to capture local politics, maybe even to the level of state legislatures. And the second step is something called nullification. If you're not familiar with this, nullification is what led to the Civil War, right? But it also led to marriage equality and weed being legal. So California, Massachusetts chose some 20 to 25 years ago to start issuing marriage licenses to same-sex couples. They also started selling weed, told the federal government to go fuck itself. And what happened? Not a goddamn thing, right? Because federal government power is like Tinkerbell. It only exists if you believe it does. Because they're not sending the military out here. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
We'll find out.
No, it's not. That won't happen. So
We've sent the military to the subways, though. Like, I mean,
that's a National Guard, same thing. So
they're better, Dan. That's what everyone has said.
yeah,
The Coast Guard, the National Guard, those are the real heroes.
The UN peacekeepers, I heard.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the nullification process works something like this. You hit on something earlier about debt strike, right? We stop paying taxes. Certainly there's some you can't avoid, right? But I don't mean the individual people. I don't mean 40 people in a neighborhood decide not to pay taxes anymore. I mean the state stops sending money to the federal government, right? And if the state sends money to the federal government, then your county says, we're not sending money to the state until you fucking knock it off,
Yeah.
right? This is the process of nullification. And it's essentially like, I don't know, how, like demoing a building from the inside out, like a controlled collapse of the building. That's what it is, and that's what we need.
Well, I don't want it to collapse. I want a renovation.
No, I want it to fucking collapse, right? Because we've built too much on top of a structure that can't support it. We have a 7,500 page tax code or some shit like that. We have laws that should not exist. We have mountains of legal fucking books that should not exist. We have a constitution. The end.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm a single man. You're a single man. We can, I think, compete in the fallout America. You have a family. You have a family. Do you feel differently about that?
I mean, I think you just wait on the outskirts until the people figure it out. I mean, I'm not going to be directly involved.
I think for, like, me personally, going back to what you said about going to Florida, a lot of people are doing that. I look at real estate prices because we're dealing with this fucking bullshit that we're going through here with this and everywhere else. Florida is the one that's going through the goddamn
paradise, baby.
It is going through the goddamn roof. It appears as if that state has figured it out. It appears as if everybody from New York, New Jersey, what was the other
Canada,
one? Pennsylvania,
Michigan.
They're all fucking moving there for a reason. Texas, on the other hand, like
Going the other way.
People are leaving.
Well, it's
I don't
getting
know.
very purple.
But you come here and you're like, dude, the property taxes are higher than they are in California.
Whoa.
Double. I mean, it's nuts, dude.
No way.
Yeah, we just paid $30,000 for this.
Yeah, but there's no
And
income,
property taxes.
There's no income tax here.
but there's
No
no in
income
Florida
tax in
either.
Florida.
There's
Right.
no income tax in Florida.
Yeah, I mean there shouldn't be any tax levied at the state or federal level.
That's unconstitutional.
That is a mistake, right? Taxes should be levied at the local level, which means the local government gets to decide if they want to participate in that shit or not. It's called federalism. It's the system of government we're in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for example, we have a bunch of toll roads here. Have you seen those?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't mind that. As long as it's owned by a private company and not the state, I don't mind. I'll drive on a toll road and I'll pay somebody to use their road.
With Chuck E. Cheese coins.
Right.
With whatever.
But the problem is it is the state, so, you'll get a thing in
It
the
is
mail.
for now, as long as the state exists, but,
No, but to Dan's point, how do you start? Like it starts. This is the whole thing with they're starting this with the.
If you're looking at how to start it, Florida's a really good place to start. Where
Well, it's not,
Man.
though. It's not, though, because they're using their power to legislate just like a fucking leftist would. They're just
Banning
doing
everything.
it. Yeah, they're banning TikTok. They're banning fucking this and that. Fuck you. Banning lab-grown meat. I'll decide if I want to eat poison or not. you motherfucker.
Nothing's 100%. I agree with you. Nothing is 100%. But if you have, it's the best of a bad situation.
Well, it's not though, because it perpetuates the entire cycle. You delude yourself into thinking that voting for this guy this time it's going to be different, but it's never different. It's always the same fascist bullshit. It's just from a different angle, and
it's the illusion of choice.
You fall into the trap of agreeing with them because you agree with the position, even if you don't agree with the principle behind it, and that's a fucking problem, right?
Yeah. So
it's most difficult to say no to something that sounds good to you, right?
And
so you're a voting as consent guy.
Well, but here's, and to Dan's points, here is why this election to me is most important. From 2016 to 2020, when Trump was in there, it was the richest I've ever been. And it goes back to comfort of what we were doing, what we were paying, everything else. 20 to 2024 has been a fucking struggle, dude.
It's getting worse, not better.
It's getting worse. So is it the fucking mean guy, whatever? I don't really give a shit at this point. I just want to be the most comfortable, because I don't think it's possible to change it in my lifetime.
Serious question. Between 2016 and 2024, what was the worst year for that of you, just in general?
22 probably.
21, 22 stuff.
22 or 23.
Not 20?
No, not 20.
No, we actually did better in 20.
Yeah, 20
I
was
mean, just like life in general.
Yeah, life in general.
Look, I don't obey fucking faggot rules, so I wasn't stuck at home or anything, so that's not a big deal.
Yeah, 20 was actually really fun for our company and for us personally.
We did very well financially in 2020, and even in 2021 we did pretty well. It wasn't until 22 that it started to go down. In my
22
opinion.
at the end of 22, and then 23 has been a motherfucker. This year has just been a fucking struggle.
But we are in a different industry than most people. So yeah, I bet if you ask the bulk of American society, they would say somewhere late September 2020 on. And then all of 21 was probably pretty rough.
Well, for me,
and I think once they were allowed back outside again, people just accepted all the other bullshit that happened.
But doing taxes for all the companies and all the entities and all the other stuff, you go back through food, you go back through utilities, you go back through gas prices and everything else, and you're like, holy shit. I can't believe I was paying this. And it's down to like propane tax, like how much propane gas was. We were like, God damn it, man. That was literally double from what it was in 2020.
Yeah. I was having, in the summer of last year, and 22 as well, both of those summers, my energy bill was like $500 to $700 a month.
Yeah.
Because it's 105 degrees here, and I'm not going to be inconvenienced.
Right.
I'm not sweating in my own home. I'm not fucking poor.
Nor should you.
Yeah. Exactly. So, that's why I say 22. I think that was the worst.
Yeah, I was the start of it, and as everything caught up, but it hasn't improved since then. So,
it's the little things more than the big things too. It's like we know now, beyond any doubt, we have the evidence that our government, our federal government, colluded with the social media companies to silence the citizens. Like this idea that it was a private company. It came from the government to silence the citizens. You guys run a network. Yeah. You should be able to sue the government for, hey, what happened to our reach? This directly affected our income.
Well, you can in Texas, actually.
Yeah, and
you should.
Well, here's the problem. And
America First Legal does great stuff.
We'll go back to
so they can demonetize the whole channel right now if they wanted to.
Yeah, and they'll definitely do it for this video now.
Oh yeah, well,
not that it matters.
It was not. This video was not getting monetized.
We make $80 a month off of YouTube, so we don't really give a shit.
Crazy.
But this will go back to convenience and everything else, where it's just like, all right, well, what are you willing to put up with, and then how much money do you have to fight it? Like that call right before you guys walked in was a half-hour conversation of how much money. It was with a lawyer. How much money are you willing to lose for this one thing that may or may not happen?
Yeah.
And I said, well, what was the last case you worked on? They sued it was a tequila company, right? And he goes, these guys had fucking millions of dollars and they were able to spend it.
Lawfare.
And I go, yes. And I go, so what was the end result? And he goes, about 1.35 million. And I was like, Jesus Christ. And I go, what was the name of the company? I've never heard of it before.
Tequila Mockingbird.
Exactly. That would be a great name.
Was it?
Take it if it's out there.
I don't know.
It's not Tequila Mockingbird.
Okay.
That's great. That would be a great name, though. But with that, I said, these guys have the money for it?
That's actually a business in Austin.
Is it really?
Yeah.
But I go, do these guys have the fucking money for it? And they go, yes, they did have the money for it. And I go, at the end of the day, once you guys settled and finished the trial, did they say it was worth spending that money? And they said, absolutely not.
Wow.
Every good lawyer is going to tell you to avoid it.
Yes. And every good lawyer who's not trying to steal your money.
Right.
And so that's what you're faced with, is that one choice that they have over you where they can spend the money to fight whatever the fuck you want to do. Elections, Trump.
Now imagine it's the federal government where
That's what I'm saying.
Money. It's not their money.
And it's endless for them.
Yeah.
And that's why the fight is so hard, is they know you're not going to fight. 99% of the people can't fight it. Occasionally, you'll get a Peter Thiel who's going to go after a Gawker and sue, help Hulk Hogan sue. Elon Musk is helping Gina Carano sue Disney right now. But those are so rare of instances. Like, it just doesn't happen.
That's where
you're beaten down, and then financially, you can't do the thing anymore to fight back.
Well, it sounds like the kind of game that the only way to win is to not play it, right? So, like,
either that or you send a message, and it only takes one person.
I think we should.
The rest fall in line.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work.
No.
Clipping Kennedy didn't do a goddamn thing. As a matter of fact, the military-industrial complex got quite a bit bigger after he left.
The military-industrial complex is who clipped Kennedy.
Yeah, exactly, right? But if somebody had...
So I think it worked
like,
for them.
If somebody had killed his predecessor, that wouldn't have changed anything. We still would have been in Vietnam.
I don't know. I'm thinking more local. Like, I think like Solzhenitsyn, right? Like if the people at the local level who have to walk around us, who have to go to the grocery stores with us, who have to go... If they don't feel like they can safely live their lives because of what they've done for the machine, that machine will break down.
I think maybe just take 2 months off from paying your mortgage and take all your money out of the bank.
That's what I'm talking about.
If you did that, that would fucking cause a problem.
It would take 10 million people. And it would take 10 million people 90 days to bring this all to its knees.
Yeah, and you can take a 3-month not paying your mortgage credit hit. You can rebuild that in like a year. It's not that big a deal.
Who cares? We're gonna completely redo credit score anyway.
I'm just saying,
renegotiate.
just from a risk mitigation standpoint, it's not that big a deal, to be honest.
So you need a newsletter so people can sign up, and then once you hit 10
This is where you
million,
guys come
have
in.
a launch
The Daily
date.
Stormer.
Yeah, the Daily
I'm an
Stormer.
idea man. What? The Daily Stormer? No,
I'm an idea man. But that's everybody, right?
Yeah,
I'm an idea man.
exactly.
Nobody's actually
No doubt
doing
about
the
it.
thing, and that's why, me personally, I'm already resigned to the fact, like, I believe in everything you said, which is not only why you're my co-host, but you're one of my best friends, is like, yes, you shouldn't believe in any of these 3 fucking candidates there are. You're going to get fucked somehow. But I'm resigned to the fact of who's going to fuck me less. That's where I'm at personally. And I'm not above admitting of like, hey man, I'm going to be able to take care of my family out in the woods. No, I'm not.
That's not how that works, though. Like, it's not more or less. There's a 5-gallon bucket full of water over your head, and one of them drips and the other one pours. But it's the same amount of goddamn water.
I want to be dripped
Yeah, but I get to
on.
watch the Rangers while
Exactly.
it's dripping.
Yeah,
And then they give me the playoffs, and then, I'll get...
I mean, that's another thing. It's. I know you're tongue-in-cheek right now, but that is another thing that you could do is stop spending money on recreational shit. Because that has a massive impact on the federal economy.
I agree.
Stop going to baseball games. Stop going to sports games. Spend money offshore, like with my bookie, for example.
Yeah, dude, they're offshore.
I'm not kidding.
They're not here, yeah.
Like, spend money somewhere else other than your own country. Like, make it hurt for them.
Netflix would love it. They just put a massive bid in for the Christmas NFL games today. So if you weren't going,
I do spend
would love
money in
it.
other countries other than my own because I pay my taxes.
Yeah. Well.
So...
I didn't mean
funding
Israel and
everything else.
Ukraine.
Yeah.
Gerard.
Yeah,
dude.
But I think that's the biggest issue
Every
with,
time
with
I hit
all
a
of this
pothole
shit.
driving here from Dallas, I was like, Ukraine!
Yeah.
Like, how can there be
It's
one
true.
pothole?
What do
It's
you-
true the whole way.
What do you
entire
blame?
way.
What do you blame the Jews? Everybody wants to blame Jews for stuff now. What are you blaming them
Oh,
for?
he blames the Jews for everything. That's also been the last 2 days.
I don't
is,
blame
hey,
the
Candice,
Jews for
do you know-
everything. I don't blame the Jews
Candice,
for
are you Jewish?
any of the success of my
A
sports
little
teams.
bit.
Okay.
Not enough to be
You got a last
badgered all
name
day.
you got a last name that makes people question it. Like, oh, you're Jewish? Okay.
Polish, yeah.
Patterson,
Polish.
I'm not getting those questions.
Yeah.
I did not badger the Jews, for the record. I simply explained what the Weimar Republic was and how, why the time and the people were ripe for such extremism. That's all. That's all.
Sure, yeah. A lot of the tranny bullshit started back then.
I had no
I was
idea.
trying to explain.
Yeah.
I told you they would know better.
But then again, like English people started the Atlantic slave trade, right?
I think Muslim people did.
Not
The Moors,
the
the Moors, I
Atlantic.
believe.
They were imprisoning white people and then selling their slaves to us.
Yeah.
But as Portugal, yeah, that's
Okay.
it. Portugal, sorry. So, but we don't think of Portuguese people as intrinsically something or.
But is
or
that
another.
before or after Portugal was taken over by the Moors?
What difference does it make?
It was after they were liberated from the Moors.
Yeah,
So they had already,
yeah. So it's like a somewhat modern European country, right? But nobody says the Portuguese as a fucking collective.
No.
Nobody ever says that.
No, it's the whites.
The Jews thing is really funny to me because all the dumbest motherfuckers I know won't stop talking about it.
Yeah, well, we talked about this as well, and a lot of it comes from the Black urban community. And these guys, they don't own. They've had landlords their whole lives. Their landlords are Jewish. They try to do something. They become basketball fans. Who owns every basketball team? They try to get into music. Who owns every record label? So from their perspective, who runs the world?
Yeah, it's interesting that we, like, intellectually, we penalize success. Like, oh, there's a lot of fucking Jews in the diamond business. Like, yeah, because they make a lot of money in it. Like, you're a fucking janitor. Did your dad fucking raise you to be a janitor?
They worked harder.
Because your dad's a stupid fuck if he did.
Yeah, they worked
Like, nothing
harder,
wrong
that's
with
it.
being a janitor. Do what you got to do. But if you're trying to make money, there are businesses that you can get into that make more money than other businesses. That's just a straight up fact, right? And if a particular group of people chooses one of those or another, we know that to be the case, right? And in more homogenous societies with broader fucking laws regarding gender equality, for example, right? In Northern Europe especially, what we find is that people are more likely to choose a gender role specific occupation, right? Like here, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think male nurses here make up like 15 or 16% of the population. In Sweden, it's like 2%, right? And they have laws that say you can't, if you even come close to discriminating against a person because of their gender, your business gets shut down entirely. It's not like we do here where you get to sue somebody, right? So people choose to do certain things. Indians like to be doctors, sometimes scientists. It's just the way it is. I just don't understand the proclivity we have to turn on each other instead of just looking up.
Well, because
You know
it's
what I mean?
tribal, right? And I want to be very clear, just for the record, I'm not anti-Semitic.
Gerard hates Jews.
GerardHatesJews.com. I already bought
.org and .gov.
Yeah,
We've already bought
.gov.
them.
But
Yeah.
I don't
'Cause
feel
you're a
like
fed
I
too.
need to be forced to be pro-Semitic either. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So, like, there's this other idea where any sort of criticism or any sort of just acknowledgement of historical fact is somehow anti-Semitic, and that I push back against 100%. So, like, you know, to say that, then immediately somebody is going to be like, all inner city black guys are not anti-Semitic. That's not what I said. Anecdotally, I've been around a lot more than you guys probably have, and the fact of the matter is, this is how they feel because this is who they've seen. This is who has been in control of the situations that they're trying to be a part of. This is who they see as the gatekeepers, and then they look and they say, this is 1% of the population. How do they have all this? And I don't have all this. And then they get the victim mentality and all that other shit, to which I agree with you. These guys, they went a different path. Like, they don't have a jump shot, so they figured out how to own the team, right? So there's something to that.
Yeah, I mean, that's why, it's important to bring back bullying.
Well, I don't know if it ever really went away. It just we weren't
Now
allowed
it's
to do it
video.
anymore.
Now somebody's got a phone in your face, and they're like, hey.
Bullying, if anything, got better than ever. We just weren't allowed in on the party.
Oh, I never stopped.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
it
why-
was
that's what
it
makes
was
you the
past
legend you are.
us.
Fat
Yeah.
retards are fat retards. It doesn't matter what year it is.
Guys, this is getting a little difficult for
Yeah.
me to hear. I have to tell you. I'd
Because
like
of the word retard or fat?
both.
Okay.
So
No hard R's, guys. Etards, please.
Oh, it's not retards.
Retards.
Maybe I don't know. Pressure creates diamonds, right? We don't have Bill Gates and all the stuff. Not that he's doing anything great lately, but we don't have the technological advances unless somebody fucking stuffs that little bitch in a trash can when he's 10 years old. We need that. That is his. Like, if you think about what do you call it? Origin stories for superheroes or villains. Like, we need that badly. We need
But don't
that
you think
badly.
that also breaks a lot of people? Like, I
Fuck
think-
'em,
I think-
Candice.
I think
They're
it's-
weak.
It's
Fuck 'em.
more. I think it's extremely rare that you have someone that is able to be resilient and then is like a millionaire or billionaire or self-made at the end of
Sure,
the day.
yeah.
It's
And
also
most people.
a common origin story in villains.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine. We need villains.
We
Bob.
need them.
Like, you don't have heroes without them, as a matter
Well,
of fact.
it is frat boy summer.
Is
Yeah,
it?
Article.
boom.
And I hope it is, dude, because that would be great. I would love it.
Look at this. We're
I
back.
love it. I hope so, dude.
We're so back.
I hope
We're
so.
so back.
I don't think we are, but I hope so. This is fun.
To come back to Candice's statement, I don't give a fuck about people that can't take it. They don't belong in the gene pool. Get them out. Right?
Yeah,
Like,
but so
we
how
have to be a meritocracy or we fail. That is the end of the fucking story. Now, the good news is that a man who goes through that, who adjusts correctly, is going to become a protector of other people, right? And you don't teach that kid to not get bullied. You teach him how to handle it. It's not the same thing. You don't build a wall around that motherfucker.
So-
You give him a baseball bat.
Where do you fall on eugenics then?
What do you mean?
Where, like, well, if that's the idea, if it's an only strong to survive, if somebody's born with maladies or disformities and they can't survive on their own.
They won't survive on their own. It doesn't matter what we do, right? I don't think we should necessarily be interdicting natural selection that much, frankly. And I don't mean if somebody's sick or something like that, you take care of them. Certainly, there's no question about that. But if somebody's weak, that's not the same as being sick.
Or
because there's only one path out of weakness. Well, there's two: death and then fucking strength. Those are the only two paths.
Yeah, but
the
they
other
could give
part,
birth to somebody who's very strong. Like, it's not like
but take the
direct
deformity.
lineage.
Take the deformity issue. Like Dan and I have a friend. We won't say who it is because the audience will know who this is, and it's a girl too. Doesn't have arms. Beat the piss. I mean, just the piss out of somebody. Like put him in the hospital bad, and it was like, hey. And I asked her point blank. I was like, hey, I heard about this battery charge and something. I mean, it was aggressive. And I was like, what happened here or whatever? And it was like, well, you know,
a point had to get made?
Well, not only a point had to get made, but I had to learn to deal with what I had. And so-and-so was talking shit. And it was like, cool, man, this is what happens. She goes, I built myself up, though, over the years to protect myself and do it. And, and everything else. And her reasoning was great. She went into the court, told that fucking story. Guess who didn't go to jail? So
you ever see a three-legged dog that feels sorry for itself?
No.
Not one. Right? Like we are built to overcome. That's what we do, right? And if you interrupt that process, it never becomes a real person. The end. That's just how it works.
Eating at the core of Candice's motherly soul right now.
I know
It's supposed to because you're a woman and you're supposed to nurture, right? But you're also supposed to do what the fuck I tell you.
well, have you? Let me ask you this, Candice. Has one of your kids gotten seriously hurt yet?
Yes, yeah.
And what was it? What was the injury?
Fell into a bookshelf and had to go get staples in his head. And then the other one, it's not seriously hurt, but there's this thing, I don't know if it's happened with your kids, but some kids will hold their breath and they pass out. I thought my youngest died.
I did that when I was a kid.
Everybody did.
Like a tantrum.
Yeah, we all did.
Yeah. No, but just
You know what my parents did? They fucking left me on the ground.
Let the weakness die.
Then I woke up. I was, I think, 3 to 5 year old, and I was sleepwalking as well, pissing in the fucking corner of the bathroom.
My oldest is peeing in the closet right now.
He's going to be excited. He's going to be
Everywhere.
excited to listen to this episode in 8 years.
Yeah. You know, I literally just fucking leave him there. Put him into the recovery position, right? You know how to do that?
No, it's that.
Okay, so hands under the head like this, or at least one hand under the head like this, on your side, and then the fucking top leg comes up, basically, right?
Straight?
Bob, pull up the recovery position.
You don't grab them by the back of their head and rub their face in it and go, no.
No, that's
No.
no,
It's a dog.
No, that's a dog.
That's not a human.
There we go, like this right here.
Okay.
Just like that. So my dad was in the Army, so he put me in a position like that. And when I woke up, I was really fucking embarrassed. As I threw a tantrum and passed the fuck out on the floor. And I woke up, I'm like, oh, that didn't accomplish a goddamn thing. You cannot reward behavior like that, ever.
Was that what it was for you?
Well, I mean, he's not even 2, so I don't think it's not like a tantrum I'm going to get my way. It's just like, for some reason, it's linked to an iron deficiency. And they grow out of it at like 5 or 6, allegedly. But it's happened a few times. So the first time it happened, I thought he died. So calling 911. He was out for like 3 minutes.
Holy shit.
It was crazy.
Sleeping?
No, he was awake. He like fell off of a little ottoman that was like a foot tall. He started crying and I was like, you're fine. You fall off that all the time.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden just out. I was like, oh dear God, what is happening right now?
Just put him next time in the recovery position.
Yeah, but
he'll be just fine.
Well, the reason I ask is youngest had a cast, so I don't know if your kids ever had a cast.
No casts.
It's the first time you get to learn to use either not one of your arms or legs or whatever it is. And I, as a parent, you're always freaked out, obviously, and you're asking the doctor, you're like, holy shit, what do we do? What's going to happen or whatever? And they're like, oh, they'll adapt, you'll see. And sure enough, like day 2, not using the leg that the cast was on and everything else, but having the greatest time, not noticing anything, and it was like, oh shit, we were the ones who were worried about this.
Very resilient species.
Yes,
we are. Yeah, we are. So
but we don't give our own species enough credit.
So let it work that way. Like for real, if somebody is doing something to toughen themselves up, whether it's intentional or not, and you stop them, then they're going to stay weak. It's just
on an intellectual level, man, I agree with you because I just don't have empathy for things in the past. Talked about the anti-Semitism or something like that, and it's I don't have to give you special treatment because of the Holocaust. I just don't. Matter of fact, I sit here and go why did you fucking let it happen? Slavery, why there was so many of you and so few of them? Why did you let it happen? If you don't have the capacity, capability, willingness, and frankly, the want to defend your culture and your peoples, then
it gets taken over.
Then maybe they weren't worth defending. I don't know. And I'm saying this as a person of Irish descent whose island was taken over for 1,000 years. And then they took our one food away, and my whole family had to come to a whole nother continent. So I'm not saying this as some sort of like Aryan dominant guy. I'm saying, but I say that also with the juxtaposition of like, I have a massive amount of empathy for my common man in this moment. I'm talking about the groceries, talking about people that can't afford stuff, people that can't buy a house. I sit here and I say, this is fucked up. And the shame that I feel probably comes from that, is that like, I'm not doing anything to help in this moment. I'm one of these assholes that was like, all right, well, get on the ship. Maybe things will get better when we get to the new world. No, it fucking won't, man. At what point do we just say, nah, fuck it. We can't, nah, I'm not getting on the ship. Hell fucking no. No.
I don't know.
Well, Cortez burned his, right?
Got him over here and burnt the ships.
So I don't know. It's the organization of 330 million people is what I can't wrap my mind around. I don't think you'll ever get everybody on board.
What's even the purpose?
30 million.
What's the purpose of having an organization of 350 million people? How does it make? Let's say the United States operated more like.
Do you believe in national divorce?
Yes. What if
How would that work?
each state is its own country?
So it had an entire breakup.
Why not?
One currency.
Why would we? So if you read the Federalist Papers, Hamilton and others make the case to the case for a strong federal government, which everybody else was against.
With a central bank, he wanted us to have kings, queens, aristocracy.
Yeah, 100%. We know that he, of all the founding fathers, is the biggest piece of shit by a wide margin.
By a wide margin.
Total piece of shit.
That's why there's a reason he got shot.
Yeah.
But he's the hero of the modern left.
Right, yeah. But all the things that he mentioned, common defense, border security, a common currency, you don't need, you ever heard of a fucking euro? Mm-hmm. You don't need to be the same country.
It is failing.
It is failing because, well, there's a reason why it's failing. It's because of Greece for the most part. But yeah, there are ways around this stuff that don't require us to be a single country. I don't know why people get so romantic and nostalgic about the idea of 50 states. I mean, when our parents were fucking teenagers, we added 2 more, right? Mm-hmm. It's not that big a deal.
And Alaska hasn't done dick for us. they have not done dick for us.
We got
dude.
Shane Battier. They gave us Shane
Fuck
Battier.
Shane
They
Battier.
gave us Shane Battier.
I put Sarah Palin, like she's probably the most famous Alaskan.
Sarah Palin?
Who else?
Sarah Nalin?
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she's been on the show. Lee Sand's been on the show. But,
So the Texas economy, if there was a national divorce right now, the Texas economy
7th in the world?
8th, and it would be larger than Russia, Canada, Italy, and a bunch of
California's
others.
So how do you-
fifth,
I
right?
wouldn't
California's
choose. I wouldn't
in the world.
choose Texas. Let's entertain this because I like it. I
Island.
think we should split up. Like for real. I think whatever your ideals are, because I don't think you're changing anybody's minds in these days. I really don't. Even on a fucking podcast, we're not going to change anybody's mind today.
Byzantine America?
We're not. I would like to see it split, and then go with each side, and then see what happens as a case study in 20 years. To be like, all right, is it going to end
Good
up like
idea, bad
California?
idea.
Exactly. Where would you go? East and west. I think north and south has already been done. So I'd go east and west.
I don't think.
Or would you go individual states?
Yeah.
Okay.
Individual states.
Where would you live then personally?
Where the fuck I am right now.
So Texas is where you want to end up?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm assuming you're Florida?
Well, wait, because what happens? Are we just assuming everybody gets along nice in the sandbox, or is there going to be a Balkanization where now Florida invades Alabama? Like, I mean, what's the
that could happen certainly. Yeah.
And then are some places communist?
If they want to be, it's up to them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Where you're staying in Florida?
I'm staying in Florida, yeah.
But we know
That
but-
would scare me then, because everything that he's banning, so then either he's going to stay in position of power forever, or whoever replaces him is going to ban everything
there's
on the
no
other side.
authority in Florida. That's the good thing. There's like in New York, there's like one cop for every like 10,000 citizens. There's a cop nonstop everywhere in New York. There's like a cop for
how
every
many people are in
100,000
Manhattan?
and
How many people are in New York proper?
12 million.
Yeah, and there's 35,000 sworn officers in NYPD.
How many cops are sheriffs in Broward County? Probably
I don't know about that. There's
2,000.
only 750,000 total for the entire country.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like New York is a military. It's under military occupation,
Certainly, yeah.
man. Like, and I didn't realize it until I moved to Florida, and then I come back home and I'm like, holy shit, there's a cop every 3 blocks in
Yeah.
Jersey. Like, this is crazy,
Yeah.
man. Like,
But to your point, I mean, I think the road you're going down right now is what about Mississippi? What about Alabama?
Yes. Yep.
Right?
Who
can't-
What happens to
yeah.
them?
What happens to the landlocked
Arkansas.
states?
They grow up or die. Like there's a resource that you have, whether it's your workers, whether it's fucking tourism or something. And if you don't have a resource, then you're not a country.
Nah.
So maybe
See, that's where you lose me.
Alabama and Mississippi are the same country at that point.
I've been
then,
traveling
right?
this country since I was 17, man. There's great people, and the culture is too
I'm
similar.
I'm not saying there aren't great people. What I'm saying is you have to make fucking money to afford things, right? You don't
Yeah.
have the right to fucking depend on federal assistance to live your life. I'm sorry.
No, no.
That is completely untenable.
I agree, but I also disagree. I get it. The world needs ditch diggers too, but these people have been captured by the federal government. They've not been released. Like, there are good people in Michigan that just want to live their lives, but the auto union and the teachers union have completely captured. Like,
so they can
Detroit-
move.
And then do you get stuck somewhere? Like,
No,
let's say you pick a state and then they turn full commie and then put up a wall. Are you now stuck in
I think
California?
you have your own
That's a
constitution
great
for your
point. Now,
state.
are we going to liberate my cousins in California?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
I think if we, let's say, hypothetically decided to do all this and you choose to stay in the state of Washington or Oregon or California, then good fucking luck.
What if they
deserve
don't
it.
let you leave?
It should be like a Mr.
can't-
Beast, Mr. Beast video where you have a certain amount of time,
Yeah.
like real ID,
Like Squid Games?
Hey, dude, June 17th, June 17th,
purge siren goes off.
2025. You gotta pick your fucking state, dude. Who do you want to be? Where? Why? And then whatever happens.
Here's
I
the
don't know
problem.
where I'd
And you're
pick.
resettling. It's like that old Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman movie
Yeah.
where
Here-
they stick the fucking flag in and they're like,
Oh, that's a great movie.
It is. I don't even remember the name of
Oh.
it. That's how great it was.
Here's the issue that I see with
Far and away.
Far and away. Yeah.
the way that we're conducting ourselves. We think
On this show?
no.
Okay.
That'll never be good.
Exemplary.
No, we have the wrong idea about what America is. It's not geography. It's not the fact that there are 50 states, because there haven't always been 50 states. We've always been America. We didn't always have 50 states, right? Yes?
Yeah.
We've had different forms of government to some degree. Not forms of government. We've had different ways that we led government. We've
Different
had
parties, yeah.
different parties, different strategies, different positions on foreign domestic policy. Always been America. And the thing that makes it America is the idea that individual liberty and personal entrepreneurship are the ultimate inoculation to tyrannical bullshit. That's the only thing that matters, right? So if that's a confederation of states rather than a union, a formal union,
Yeah.
then that is what it is, right? And if somebody wants to walk outside of that, good luck, right? But if you try to stop people from leaving, then I'll come there and kill you.
I think it would
Okay.
be. I think it'd be like college football, though. It'll like we all see the way college football is going. It's going to be the SEC and the Big Ten.
Yep.
And then everybody else is kind of a jag-off conference, and nobody cares.
I mean, that's already kind of the case anyways.
right.
Which, by the way-
But I think that's what would happen with America in this point. So, like the Alabamas and the Mississippis
Yep.
would call up the other states, like Florida, and be like, "Hey, dude, you guys seem like you got better shit going on.
Yeah.
Can I join up with you?"
Yeah, but that is how it would work. And then they would join up with them, and then there would be empty space somewhere, and somebody that made enough money in a certain area, but you know what, I'm going to go over here and do this fucking gold rush. I'm going
Yeah.
to go over here and start a business and bring people over and build a new fucking community.
Guys,
That happens all the time.
You're talking about Europe. They're just describing Europe. So now Virginia signs up with the Southeast Conference. North Carolina doesn't. South Carolina does, and now Virginia is its own thing in the middle. And then eventually they're just like, you know what, man, let's go get this bread out of the Ukraine.
Yeah.
You
But
know what I'm saying? Let's go get North Carolina.
The difference with
Who's gonna stop us?
The difference with Europe is that most European countries decided to subjugate themselves to a power that has no real authority, right?
The difference with Europe is they have different languages and different cultures.
Certainly,
We don't.
Certainly, that's part of it as well.
Yeah.
Yes, but they also subjugated themselves to a central authority, and that cannot happen, right?
They've subjugated themselves to like so many central authorities.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the ruling powers over Europe. You have the EU, you have the UN, you have NATO. Like, how many governments do
Mm-hmm. The
you need?
WHO has
Yeah.
vast powers there. Yeah.
And those are the guys that look at America and go, "This place has got to go." We can just buy our way into NATO. We can buy our way into the UN. There's no
Yeah.
elections. Why are we doing with this America crap?
I don't know. I mean, to me, it's like if I needed a campaign mission statement or slogan, it would be, I have the bold idea that fucking people know exactly what's best for themselves.
Yeah, locally.
Mind your fucking business.
Mm-hmm.
The end.
I don't think we give up on America. I think a lot about so Justinian. Not to be, I'm sure they know more than I do, but Justinian, after Rome moved east, right? Like Byzantine never existed, right? It's just a label we give it. They considered themselves Romans. And Justinian got it up his ass after he survived the plague that he was like, I'm anointed by God. I need to reconquer or liberate my Romans to the west, right? Like, how can I be the Roman emperor if Rome is not even under my jurisdiction? So he marches west and he's going through, the former lands, and he's, re-amalgamating the quote-unquote Roman Empire. And he's coming by as the conquering hero to these lands and going, welcome back into the Roman Empire. You guys are free. And these people that have been living out there going like, what the fuck is he talking about? We've never when did we stop being Romans? They were like, yeah, no, you haven't been a Roman for like 70 years. They're like, well, then who the fuck have we been paying taxes to? Like, because the barbarians were just acting as Roman Empire. And I sit here and I look back 20 years on now from the Patriot Act, and I'm like, man, is this like a Justinian situation? Did the empire actually fall and none of us realized it? And now somebody's going to come and put this thing back together and be like, guys, we did it. We're out of the grasp of the globalists who took us over. And we're like, when did this happen?
I think it's so much only going to get worse. That's it.
When in America, this is what you just said hurts me because I agree with you. And I realized it probably about a year ago for the first time in my life that the American dream type of a deal and the American idealism that you're talking about, it really boiled down to this idea that no matter how bad things were in this moment, there was hope it was going to get better. Yeah, it's going to get better. Yeah, we're going to figure it out. It's going to get better. And about a year ago, I started thinking, man, I don't know if this is going to get fucking better.
Well, it was built to be a self-correcting apparatus, right? Like, that's the thing about individual liberty.
2 years ago, the midterms.
Individual liberty naturally decentralizes things, right? So you get soft resets instead of hard resets.
And a hard reset is what I think we need
at this
point,
but
nobody's going to do it.
It'll happen on its own. Like I think the real estate and stock markets are going to crash pretty soon.
That's why I think they're going to let Trump in. My conspiracy theory is that that
let him take the
Biden
blame
has
for it.
fallen, to your point. No matter what they're trying to juice the polls so that maybe they could pull off a Hail Mary and cheat again. But he's fallen so far outside of the margins of cheating that they may just not be able to do it. So now plan B becomes, all right, fine, let Trump in. This fugazi economy that's been a credit bubble for a decade, just pop it, pull the plug. All these infrastructures that need to be, to your set, demolished because they've been hollowed out, pull the plug, punish us for the populist revolt.
He said that about 6 months ago on this show. The plan was, hey, let Trump in there, and then pull out everything. Yep. Because right now, even at interest rates and everything else, trying to buy a car, it's nuts. You're like at 12%.
Yeah. What is it?
On a car right now?
Like, I don't know. We're not economists here, but what does it say about the economy that we're trying to force a recession and can't? Yeah. Right, that's a big fucking problem.
Because that's the way it's the only way that they'll drop the interest rates is if, oh hey, people, we got to get people to stop working so we can lower the inflation rate. It's like,
well, people need to be led. Like, when I say decentralization, I don't mean that there should be no leaders in a community, right, or even for the nation. And right now, the federal government is printing and spending money at a rate that's unprecedented in human history, and people are following suit. It isn't just the federal government. Credit card debt in America amongst regular folk is higher by percentage by a factor of about 40% than it's ever been in American history. Now, credit cards are relatively new, obviously, last 50 years or so, but still, we are fucked right now. People are just like, well, the government's going to fucking dilute my money and spend it all over the place. I'm just going to go take out a fucking loan.
Why
and I'm just going to rent forever.
Yeah, why
I'm
not?
never going to own anything. I'm going to rent forever, and then all these companies will continue to get richer, and nobody owns anything.
Well, what was commercial real estate default last quarter? I think it was the worst in recorded history. Somebody could look it up. I believe it spiked. I don't want to be wrong on this because it's like an astronomical amount. I believe it spiked 1,000% last quarter.
Oh yeah, but that
commercial real estate.
Commercial.
It defaulted at historic levels.
Yes,
so
it's nuts.
$38 billion of U.S. office buildings face loan defaults, foreclosures, or other forms.
So if you
6.5%.
if you're looking at talismans, when businesses aren't even making forget taxes. Businesses aren't making enough money to pay the rent.
Sure. Well, yeah. I mean, it's not just. It isn't. This is a new form of creative destruction that we haven't seen before because it isn't just about inflation of the dollar. It is also about the landscape of the modern workplace is changing quite a bit. You don't necessarily need to be in a building anymore.
You don't need a city anymore.
Right. You don't need anything anymore.
Anything.
You can have 10,000 employees and none of them live in the same city.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very doable these days.
So what does that do to the guy who owns the pizzeria that serves those office buildings? What does that do to the person that owned the
You're all
All of it, yeah.
All of it is fucked.
Yeah, but it's not fucked. It's different.
It is.
And it is up to us as a community to fucking adapt to the new thing, right? Like the cotton gin fucked a lot of people over,
Sure.
slaves mostly, or whatever.
Yeah.
Convert it to fucking housing. I mean, there's a literal just like roof shortage in the United States of America.
Well, this is something you're working on.
What do you mean roof
Right,
shortage?
in North Carolina.
Like, there's not
You're creating like an artist community down there, right?
What?
There's an artist community. You were telling me about North Carolina where a lot of people are leaving these cities, the bigger cities, and they're coming down.
North Carolina is like one of the #1 states that everyone's moving to,
Yeah.
and Wilmington specifically
Yeah,
for like
I
the
know,
last
I know.
3 years in a row. I
My-
really
my
think it's gonna be the
parents,
next Austin.
Well, it depends. It's one of those things where
New Yorkers were more likely to move there than they were here.
I know that
That's
was
what
the
it
number
was.
one city.
that right?
Yeah, it was the
Really?
number one city.
It was South Florida and Wilmington, North Carolina.
All my parents' neighbors are New Yorkers, in a good way because they were tired of the politics, which is why they get the fuck out of there and the property taxes. But for commercial real estate, that's a simple answer at least. At least we have that answer. As soon as the pandemic
Wait,
hit,
what is the answer?
Well, so as soon as the pandemic hit, everybody had to work from home. Every business owner, as the last 4 years has gone on, looked at their bottom line and they're like, all right, great. Inflation's taking money. Everything else is taking money. And then you look at the lawsuits and everything else and the electrical and everything that you were paying wise, and you look at it and you're like, all right, well, do I want some fat asshole who's going to sue me for fucking diabetes or falling down at work or workers' comp? Or do I want to pay them the rest of their lives? Would it be better if I can just send them home, and then if they trip over their dog, if they don't, I don't have to pay for food.
No,
I
they
don't
can
have
still
to
sue.
do anything.
I know someone.
true?
It was during COVID, so it was work from home.
Yeah.
They went outside. It was all ice. Slipped, broke her leg, and because she was on the clock, sued the company.
Right.
Won.
I would burn my business to the ground. I would take
And
every
won.
dollar out of the bank account and burn it right in front of them and call them a cunt.
Yeah.
I would never pay for
And
that.
it was
they did.
definitely a Christian lawyer that
Well,
was in that
that's
lawsuit.
in
I know
Texas.
that lawsuit, but they did not win. And so with that, everybody looked at their bottom line and said, all right, great, man. So I don't have to deal with any HR. I don't have to deal with sexual harassment suits. I don't have to deal with food, electricity, water, toilet paper,
Sure.
paper
Also,
towels.
dude, don't even
There's
let
cum
those-
everywhere.
There's cum all over the studio, dude.
Yeah.
Don't let those people off the hook either. People were way overspending on offices because it was a flex.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like people were spending irresponsibly
Yeah.
to have dope offices
Right.
and shit where
Well, it was a write-off, right? So they were
Yeah.
making enough money that they could write it off, and now they're not making the revenue
Things
anymore.
were going well. So they
Yeah.
were like, well, fuck it. I have the money to do it. Now everybody's forced to live or work out of their house pretty much. Shit ton of people in my neighborhood work out of the house all day.
Which they shouldn't though. Remote work doesn't get the work done.
For
I don't
most
think.
people, no.
It
They're
doesn't.
so lazy.
But also now, here's the other problem with this is so the companies are making their balances square again, where they're like, great, we just saved all this money and everybody's working from home.
Yeah.
Well, now people can't afford those fucking houses, so like they're trying to figure out how to juggle. I need an office in my apartments, and I maybe want to have a kid, maybe not have a kid. That'll go back to even having kids in the first place.
Well, it's a very solvable problem with that downstream effect you're talking about, and that's make your home as an office and fucking write it off in your taxes.
If you
right?
can afford
Now,
a
you
home.
people. Well, I mean, right now houses are four to five times more expensive than they were, right?
Right.
But the upstream, like we got to solve problems upstream. The commercial, the vacant commercial real estate, right? That still has equity and banks. So it's tied into our entire financial system. How do you solve that problem? You have to return those in some way to a revenue generating.
Yeah, you got to make REITs
platform,
illegal.
right?
You got to make
Yeah.
REITs illegal
Yeah,
because
so it's
you
like,
can't.
like
What illegal?
after the cotton
REITs,
after
REITs.
the cotton gin comes in,
Real estate
and,
investment
look, this is going to
trusts.
get a little touchy right quick, but after the cotton gin comes in and displaces slaves, what's the solution to that? To free them and let them go get actual jobs.
Yeah.
That's the solution. And I think that, as much as anything else, came into play with how the whole Civil War stuff started. Right?
Well, there was a guy who
lot
was
of it
writing about that. I forget the guy's name, and he was basically like, slavery's ending anyway because it's too expensive.
Right.
You know.
It was a flex to have slaves at that point,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That was a flex. So but remember, our founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, for example, died what would be the equivalent of $46 million in debt or something like that.
Is that right?
Deeply in
I
debt
didn't know
because
that.
of Monticello. Yeah. So it's like we're in the same goddamn situation we were 243 years ago, 240 whatever the fuck year it is.
Yeah,
I
Federalist
don't know what it is,
Papers
248.
sound like they look like a Twitter fight today.
Yeah.
you
So
know?
it's like, can we really not look into our past and find the solution for this? I feel like there's got to be some kind
Do you
of
think
solution.
they solved it?
Yeah, certainly.
They just kicked the can. They
That's the
kept kicking the
solution.
can.
So boil it down. Do Bill James with me, right? Reduce this all down to one number. What's the one number we need to glean out of this?
What's our USA OPS?
Yeah.
What's our OPS?
What's our wins above replacement? We need to create a certain amount of revenue to keep this shit going. It needs to be created in a certain way that's both sustainable, resistant to inflation, so on and so
Well,
forth.
GDP
right?
to debt, right? I mean,
But America first, going back to, hey, if we start there, let's just start there. Just keep the jobs, everything here, shut down the borders, everything else.
But you got to think about when creative destruction happens, you have to think about all the players involved who are losing money because of it, right? And those people, you have to find new means of revenue for them somehow. For the slaves, it was obvious. They just got jobs or they got homesteads or whatever the fuck happened, right? That's a very obvious example. Here, it's not so obvious. Like these people that own all of this real estate, well, it's BlackRock and State Street and blah, blah, blah. And you could say, you know what, fuck them. But they also own all of the index funds that your 401k's in.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So how do you handle that?
well, you were talking before the real estate investment trust, right? So there's this idea that commercial real estate, residential real estate, it all gets boiled together into one asset. They can sell off the price of the asset. The price of the asset they keep simple. It's the amount of units times the average price of the unit, right? So you may be in a place like, and I saw this all the time in Jersey, and and you see it in New York. With the pandemic, everybody left. Why didn't the prices in New York come down? Because that building is worth more as a chopped up ETF in an asset if they've got 100 floors and it's average $3,000 a unit. Then they bring in Section 8 and the government pays the difference between the $800 and they pay it up front for the year. They take the losses on the write-off, they get their operating revenue from the government, and then they're selling out shares of what their real estate holdings are, their portfolio. It's completely and totally unethical. And they take that and they can use that building, which is losing them money because they're not
Well, you're taking the write-offs on that.
Yeah.
And this Delco said this a long time ago on the show, and it's starting to ring true more and more after all these fucking investor meetings I sit into. Is any business profitable in America?
Well, see, this is the problem with publicly traded companies, right? The product isn't the product. Apple's product is not this fucking phone or this laptop. It is their stock, right? And no matter what they do, no matter how good or bad this is, provided the stock stays high, they make money.
Yeah.
That's just how it is, right? So this is the problem when you let hedge funds own real assets like energy companies or real estate.
Houses, yeah.
Like especially commercial and residential real estate, especially those two are probably at the top. And by the way, look at the downstream effect of that. It's that the modern calculation for inflation now excludes volatile
I know,
things
is that
like
nuts?
housing and energy.
Is
Like,
that
are you
nuts?
fucking kidding me?
So real inflation,
Right?
they think, by the old definition, which is 10 years old, real inflation, what they think, got up to like 26 or 27% or some
27%,
shit.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So like record that's 1929 levels, right? So we should expect a market crash at some point. It's being propped up right now. I don't understand how or why, but
For the election? For now.
But it's been going on. This has been going on for a couple
So,
of years now.
I think it'll go through the election at least. I agree
and
with you. There'll be a crash, but not before the election.
And then what
I think
happens?
that's the plan.
I don't
but I
know.
and then
think
they let
these guys
Trump
are
win and
rats.
handle the fucking fallout.
I
would
think
imagine.
that's the plan. I agree with you guys, but I think these guys are rats, and they know they're rats, and they don't trust each other, and nobody wants to be the last one holding the bag. So as soon as one person gets itchy and pulls, everybody's going to pull. I don't
Yeah.
think it gets.
I mean,
We've all got that one friend.
Everybody should like honestly, if you can manage it, it wouldn't be a horrible idea to liquidate any kind of fucking index fund or 401k you have. Take that cash out of circulation right now.
Well, here's the weird thing.
October
I did a
31st,
while ago.
I'm out.
Here's the thing. I did a while ago.
No, same.
Because of that fear. And
I did it because of the time value of money. Because money in my hands invested is worth way more than it is in an index fund.
But looking back on it, so I did this roughly 2 years ago when Bob was saying, like, when 22 was my personal thing where I was just like, Jesus Christ, man. And I didn't trust what was going on. I thought it was going to get worse. Stock market, though, I was wrong in that. Like, stock market's fucking gone up. But stocks changed hands so much that where normal people like us sold our shit, and now
Yes.
it's bigger corporations. And what is it, like 90% of the stock market?
Here's
is
the problem,
I
though.
saw it explained in a chart, though. The stock market is only kept up with inflation. The rich people just kept their money.
Correct. And the normal people got out.
The normal people couldn't
We got
afford
out.
bread
Yeah.
and groceries and rent, so they had to sell the stocks.
Right.
They didn't get out; they were forced out. So I can't afford my food, so I couldn't keep my shit in Nvidia. And now, the rich guy that I was talking about before is like, my stocks are higher than ever. Yeah, motherfucker, because you
You're
didn't have
rich.
to pull
Yeah.
nothing out. You didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, it's better for you. You've been rich for too long, right? And I'm a capitalist saying this, right? But you just have no concept. Now, this is where the real test for crypto comes in. We've had this promise of crypto for so long. We've had this promise that this is the moment it's made for.
Hodl.
And I don't
Hodl,
know
dude.
if I
Hodl.
believe. I think it's been infiltrated.
How so?
I-
In like a meaningful way, how
Well,
so?
what percentage of crypto do you think is owned by the same companies that own all the commercial real estate? State Street, BlackRock.
More and more and
Right.
more than it was.
Yes.
Which is
spending-
why people
you-
need to get in.
I mean, again, they're buying people out of the market intentionally because they're trying to create another situation where the only way to win the game is not play.
Yes, and I even got out of Bitcoin for the same. Like I sold all that shit.
You
in
did,
like
really?
22. Yes, and like I sold it. So, and I've told this story before, but I bought it at 8, sold it at 24. This was just Bitcoin. We had the Pompliano brothers were on the show, and they said,
Talking
"Look,
shit like this in front of your millions of fans is why you keep getting fucking sued, bro.
What's that? I don't care. It's not. We're not getting sued because of the show.
No, I know.
We're getting sued for
Nobody poor gets sued.
trying to have a small business in today's world is really fucking tough.
Yeah.
It's other shit
On
but-
purpose.
yeah,
So
which is
what was-
another.
oh, sorry.
No, you go.
I was going to say, what was Pomp saying to you? When he was on.
So when he was on, because I asked him, we got into hardcore aggressive crypto.
Yeah.
And he said Ethereum and Bitcoin. He
Mm-hmm.
goes, those are the only real two. And they both own a shit ton of Bitcoin. So I was like, all right, man, they're smart guys, and I'll give this a go. And it, again, bought it at 8, sold it at 24. And I had a stop quote in there, I think at 23 or whatever it was. So it just sold out for me. I was like, okay, awesome, man. And then we'll see what happens. And then it crashed all the way down to like 6. And I was like, oh, thank God I got out. I think today it's at like 68,000.
That's
I think-
up. It's been hovering in the high 50s, low 60s after
Totally.
hitting a high of 70.
But
Yeah.
my point is, I think most of us normal folk got out of it because of everything else that was going on and inflation and all this other shit that got out of the stock market, got out of crypto. The people
Well, it's
that
not-
really own this shit
Yeah.
is what you're talking about. It's bigger and bigger corporations, richer and richer people. They're all getting richer.
can take the loss.
Well, as
normal
mu-
people
yeah.
aren't.
As much as I hate any sort of regulation, the fact that crypto is not regulated presents some interesting problems, right? So I, as a large hedge fund, can buy enough of a certain cryptocurrency to manipulate its value.
It's pumped and dumped all the time.
Whereas you can, yeah, it's pumped and dumped all the time. You can, I mean, people do it, but the SEC monitors that sort of stuff. If you're going to make a major trade, you're a large position holder in a specific stock that's on the S&P or the NASDAQ, you have to let the SEC know 6 weeks in advance that you're going to make that trade, right? There's all sorts of
Martha Stewart rule.
Correct. Yeah. There's all sorts of regulatory stuff going on there. I get into crypto. I buy it at fucking 10, right? And I think it's going to go up to 50. Let's say, right? They're going to pump and dump. They're going to manipulate that market until I fucking pull my shit out of it, right? They're going to drive it up to 30 and then down to 5.
Yeah, or you're
And then they're gonna buy it all
Sam
at 5.
Bankman-Fried.
Yeah.
And you have $2 billion worth. So you sell 100 million all at once.
Sure.
The price just collapses. Everybody gets out. They say, "Oh my God, this is the big collapse." You knew it was going to happen. You wait for the price to get fucking to the level that you wanted it to get to anyway. Then you tell all of your fucking cronies who wanted to invest with you, like, now get in, go ahead.
Yeah.
Gets in and he puts his 100 million back in and the price fucking skyrockets. And he literally manipulates the market.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no law that says you can't do that, frankly. There's no law in the U.S. books that says you can't do that because it's not a security, it's not a fucking publicly traded thing. It's cryptocurrency, it's its own thing, right? So it presents unique challenges, I guess, that we haven't dealt with before stock market wise. And to be honest, I don't know that there is a solution to that, which is why I don't deal with crypto, because if I can buy a ticket to the game, right? But Somebody else can buy all the other 40,000 tickets, and they can just piss on my fucking face the whole game. What am I going to do is sit there and get pissed on?
Games are you
know what I
fucking
mean?
going to?
No, if you look at what he's talking about is what Drake is doing to.
He gets peed on all the time.
No, but when he had that, this will be the first beef, but with Pusha T, he was buying out the first 15 rows.
That's the 50 Cent move.
Yes.
Yeah.
The 50 Cent did it too, and
Well,
like
50 Cent was the first to do it to Ja
if you
Rule.
have the money to do it,
Yeah.
you can fucking do it.
So the only real solution to that is, I think Daenerys Targaryen said it, kill the masters. Frankly, like let's be real about this. The only way to deal with a power that's too strong for its own good is to kill the power.
Well, what do you think, before we get out of here, we'll go around the horn. What do you think is going to be the end result for America? When is it going to change?
I think we're mid-empire, to be honest. I don't think anything's going to happen. I think people are going to continue puttering around with their fucking Hot Pockets and their iPads.
For how many more years?
400, I don't know.
Okay, what about you,
Then
Candice?
nothing changes?
No,
Yeah, what
that's
about you,
correct,
Candice?
25 years, I think. Right?
And you think there'll be some sort of civil war or something?
I don't know if it'll have to go to violence or not. I think it'll probably be a lot more strategic, but it's either going to be China or India that kind of overtakes it. It's like the Ray Dalio changing orders.
The American perestroika type of the Ray. Have you guys seen the Ray Dalio changing of orders? Have you seen that?
No.
It's really good.
It's really phenomenal
And scary.
It's just he does a breakdown of like the 5 last reserve currencies worldwide and the empires that were behind him, and tries to kind of the Bill James model. He tries to make an economically and statistically sound analysis of what made them rise and what made them fall. And he kind of says, to Dan's point, that we're kind of on the downside of mid-empire, and that the only real we can course correct, but it would take a very what would be the word I would use?
Aggressive.
It would take aggressive, and we would first of all, we'd have to make the acknowledgement that we were in the downfall first of all, and then it would take a cycle of austerity and accountability to rewrite the ship in the right direction. What
do you think is going to happen with America?
I can't see the deep state going through everything that they've... I've met a bunch of CIA guys, like I'm sure you guys have, and they are kind of unrepentant about thinking the idea of the nation state is antiquated. And they are global people. They are global citizens. They don't like having to go through all the different minutiae, the different rules, the customs, the currency exchanges, the laws, this and that, in all these different places. They think there should be one world government, and they think that they need to sit at the head of that table. And I have not seen them not get what they want in my entire life.
So you think that's what's going to happen?
I think there's going to be some sort of move towards global federalism by 2030. Yeah,
Okay.
Global feudalism.
Global feudalism.
Yeah, not
You're right.
federalism.
You're right. Yeah, global feudalism. Correct.
And so I live with, I'm with Dan. I think we'll just...
Well, they're going to just to clarify.
We'll kick the can
call
down the road for fucking another 200 years. I don't think anything's going to change.
Yeah.
And we're all a bunch of fucking dummies on a podcast talking about it. But I think because the level of comfort, I think there are people who are ready to fucking go out to the woods and all that other shit. The other people who just want to take their kids to school. I don't think anything's going to happen, and we'll all just kind of put up with it, and then some other generation will deal with it, but it won't be us.
Hey, look at a poodle, and just look at that poodle, and just remember 1,000 years ago that was a wolf. But 1,000 years of the master giving it food, and 1,000 years of the master clipping its
I will
nuts.
not be here to see it. So I will not be here to see the poodle change. 5 years to me is too fast.
I guess you could start polluting more. Let's fuck this place up, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to throw this hard AF can out the
I
window.
like that.
as soon
I
as
call
get
that
out of here.
accelerationism. Let's just get this thing going.
Use every fossil fuel we have, right? Which we could never do, by the way.
Let me take a different tact here. I think with what happened with the roast of Tom Brady, with what happened with Frat Boy Summer, I am excited that the youth has had enough. And I think that there is a part of Gen Z that is going to step up to the plate. And I think that we know that we fell asleep, our generation fell asleep at the wheel too much. And I think that we are going to push back. And I do think that there's going to be people that are going to get into it at the local level. I do think that there's people that are going to say, nah, enough of this bullshit. Why am I letting these nerds bully me around? What the hell was cancel culture to begin with? My uncle went to Vietnam and I'm afraid of somebody tweeting something mean to me? Like, no. Like, we're gonna step up to the plate. I think this is our moment, and I think we're going to take it. I think that this is a great country, and it's worth fucking saving, and I think that we will save it.
Okay. And I think it's going to take somebody outside of a suit jacket like that to do it, because I just can't take you seriously.
The rent is too damn high.
It is. We got a Drinkin' Bro of the Week back there. Who's your buddy? You want to bring him up? And
Sean
give him a mic?
Finnegan, man.
Okay, great.
The great Sean Finnegan. You want to come on camera, Sean?
Grab a mic up here, Sean. We do this thing called Drinkin' Bro of the Week, and we'll let you give it out. You guys have been on the show before. How do you know Sean?
Sean played college baseball with me. Great left-handed pitcher. Used to throw pretty hard, and now had a great breaking ball. And now he lives right here in Austin, Texas. He's a big fan of the Drinkin' Bros. He wanted to come down and meet you guys, and it's really cool that you guys let him come on set.
Well, we do leave the studio, like, for real, that's for real. We leave the studio open. Everybody's welcome to come and get booze. Shit, who grabbed 4 cases out of there earlier? During mid-show. Drink all day, enjoy the studio. You guys built this. You should be able to, because that's the only reason we have all this shit. So we own it for now until a fucking freeway comes through it. But you let it fucking burn. So party, do whatever you want. Who would you like to give Drinkin' Bro of the Week to?
I mean, as far as in general?
Anybody.
Anybody, buddy.
Who has inspired you or helped you become the person you are today?
You know what, Gerard, actually, I will say.
That guy?
Gerard,
Oh, boy.
Gerard and I have
Give somebody else.
have had similar
Give it to somebody else.
experiences post-baseball, and a lot of stuff that he's said on his other show
Domestic
has resonated
violence.
with me.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, so, and thanks for having me down here. It's great to see Gerard. I only get to see him a couple times a year now. Always try to go see him when he's in town or San Antonio or Dallas or wherever, so thanks for having me down here and meet the guys.
Absolutely, man. Well, thanks for coming in.
Awesome.
Help yourself to some booze. We appreciate you guys being on the show. Tell us where they can find your podcast.
Chattingwithcandice.com or anywhere they get podcasts.
And I got Slick and Thick with the great Mickey Go. He's got a fight coming up June 1st at the Prudential Center. Check
does.
that out.
Yeah, dude. Is Mickey going to win the fight?
Yeah, Mickey's going to
I
win.
keep asking that,
Mickey's
too.
going to win. Look, it's 50-50. Every fight's 50-50, but Mickey's going to win the fight. I think
hope
Mickey's going
Mickey-
to win the fight by first round guillotine. That's my
So Delco is a fucking UFC messiah here. A lot of the bets I take come from him. Here's, as a fan, I bet as a fan, and that's my fucking problem with UFC.
Yep.
I think Mickey could and should be the guy that could be the next big superstar. But it's so difficult because, like you said, every fight is 50-50 where you can just get knocked out and there's nothing you can do about it. I hope he wins, and I hope all this shit happens.
From your tone, I'm guessing Delco doesn't see him as the odds on
don't
favorite.
know, and I wanted to ask him
Yeah.
live on air and put him on the spot. So Delco, who you got?
I'm obviously going to pick Mickey, but I would like some plus odds. He hasn't fought in a while.
Yeah.
He's had some back issues, obviously. This is his comeback, so I would like to get Mickey at plus odds. That'd be nice.
So here's the thing, right? Here, and this is, I can give you the inside scoop. Mickey fought his last 2 fights in the UFC with a fucking quarter-size hole in his back.
Yep.
The fact that he was even able to be competitive is a testament to the man that he is, right? And he's been at Killcliff FC for 2 years now. He's never been known for his striking. His striking is going to be completely different than anybody's ever seen before. His body's in the best shape that it's been in years. Basel is a beast. Look at what he did with Della Donna, man. Like, he's a hard-headed dude, Egyptian dude. He's built like an absolute Mack truck. He's a great wrestler. But I believe Mickey is one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners in the world. And where Basel thinks he's bringing other people into deep waters, that's where Mickey swims. So, look, it's a fight. Anything can happen, man. And it's been 2 years since the kid's been in the ring. But if he wins it, sky's the limit.
I know.
If
I
he
agree.
wins it, the sky's the
I
limit.
agree.
You need three wins in a row in the UFC. If you get 3 wins in a row in the UFC, you're in action. That's a solid year. You put together a solid year, then boy, you're rocking, right?
Especially with him, because he's got the personality, he's got the looks and everything else. Like, that's the guy you want on top of the fucking world. It's just fighting and it's tough.
Look, one way
it's
or another,
50-50.
it's not like win or die, dude. There's a ton of other opportunities out there, but I wouldn't bet against the kid. I wouldn't bet against the kid.
I'm not going to.
Basel is a pro, dude, but he's gonna have to fight a perfect fight to beat Mick. And
Okay.
that's and if he does, he does. Like, it's the pros, brother. It's
Yeah,
the
it
pros,
is. It is. Appreciate you being here. I'm going to take you to dinner after this. Go to
You are the man.
iTunes, rate the show a 5-star, and leave a quick review. Also, head on over to Spotify. It's just a 5-star, and you can walk away at that point. For D'Anthony Holloway, I'm Ross Patterson. This is the Drinkin' Bros podcast. Good night, everyone.